In donor pressure, including from the United States, President Gallen Sichilima sanctioned the PricewaterhouseCoopers audit into Zammsa. And while the official report has not been made public, excerpts published by the outlets such as Newsdiggers paint a troubling picture. The audit reviews questionable procurement practices, including the so-called MOPA procurement involving suppliers, the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, and Zammsa. Medicines were allegedly purchased at highly inflated prices, some by over 1,600%. To just give one example, a batch of ibuprofen, 200 mg, was bought for nearly 4,000 kwacha against Zammsa's own estimated price of just 230 kwacha and more than 2,400% higher than the ZPPA market index. The export also notes that IV fluids with short expiry dates were bought, while other stocks from Egypt remained unused in the containers. Tonight on Costa, we ask what these revelations mean for Zambia's health sector, public interest, and the lives of ordinary Zambians. My guest this evening, pharmaceutical expert Mr. Gallen Sichilima, once again joins me on tonight's edition of Costa to discuss these very important matters of national interest. Mr. Sichilima, good evening. Thank you so much for making time to be a part of tonight's edition of Diamond Live. I must mention it's been a long time. The last time we sat was in about 3 months ago. Yes,
Andrew, good evening. Thank you, and good evening, viewers. It's humbling to be here again. Thank you.
Let's begin off our conversation with your take on the PwC audit findings into Zammsa. I know for a fact that the report isn't yet out, but we've seen, excerpts from outlets like the Newsdiggers. What do you make so far of what we're getting out of this?
Well, a lot of revelations have come out. Some of the information is interesting that we were not aware about, and also interesting aspects of what goes on in these institutions have been made public. Not surprising facts, really. Some of those things are expected. I think in my humbling contribution to this particular debate, I would open my discussion with you just to address the issue of, the mop-up and the meeting that was held at the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry. Yeah. I picked this one specifically because I saw that the narrative seems to suggest that this particular procurement called mop-up was actually started by the suppliers. That is mistwisting of the facts. The meeting that was held there initially, I actually did attend that meeting myself. The initial meeting was called. I was made aware. I wasn't part of the first meeting. So when the meeting was called to order, and then when the discussions started, I was told that the suppliers, who are not citizen suppliers, began shifting blame as to why we didn't have drugs at the time. You must realize it was a time when it was really hot. We didn't have enough supplies of the medicines, right? And so in that meeting, in his wisdom, the minister refused to carry on with the meeting with those accusations that no, it was citizens that had contracts and had failed to perform, and that is why there was a shortage of drugs. Obviously, these innuendos were being perpetuated by these, pharmaceutical suppliers from these other countries that obviously thought it was an opportunity to say that the law was not, working and we needed to change. So the minister stopped the meeting and said, we cannot discuss people that are not here. And therefore the meeting was rescheduled for the following week, and I was called to attend that meeting. That's how I found myself in that meeting. Suffice to say, the meeting had representatives of, the Ministry of Health. There was Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry. There was, ZAMRA. There was Zammsa. there were Manufacturers Association for Pharmaceuticals, and we had what is called the Zambia Business Pharmaceutical Forum, and all these people were there. And then you had the citizen-owned pharmaceutical companies represented by myself, and I think we were 2 of us from our association. The way I recollect that meeting was it had 2 items on the agenda, and that was what was called the positive discrimination. So the minister was trying to ask for advice from the industry. What are the challenges for you manufacturers that you think government could offer help so that we could support local manufacturing? As you might be aware, the president himself has been a proponent of self-manufacturing of these medical medicines and medical supplies, as we learned a bitter lesson during the COVID period. So it has been one of his top agenda. And so the minister wanted to understand from the perspective of these manufacturers what were the hindrances that they thought government needed to unlock so that they could boost the manufacturing sector of medicines and medical supplies. I must also make mention, first of all, that in Zambia, your manufacturing capacity is less than 5%. You must note that. You must understand that. These manufacturers of yours that you call manufacturers are not doing any meaningful manufacturing. We are importing 95%, and that is the correct position. Even the 5% that they talk about as manufacturing, they actually import already manufactured products and repackage them, and they tell you this is produced here. All right? And so, this is something that I see people do not really understand, and they think this one, there's no manufacturing happening. That's a reality. If there's manufacturing happening, why are we importing 95%? Go to these factories, ask them, what are you producing, sir? What are you producing? And so the minister did say, okay, having heard from the manufacturers what the issues were, among those were tariffs on raw materials, the length of clearance, how long it takes when these things come at these borders, And so the conclusion on that matter was that government would constitute a team that was going to go around these manufacturing houses that we have to assess the true capacity of what could be produced. And then whatever is produced locally, Zammsa was now to give priority in procurement to these locally manufactured products. That is where the idea of positive discrimination is about. Only for products that are locally manufactured. Yes. I'm not sure if that committee was constituted, but suffice to say, I believe that government did make a follow-up because we've seen certain tenders that are strictly for locally manufactured products. So that is where the positive discrimination comes into play. The second agenda item was what the minister wanted to know was, look, we've had this problem of drug shortage for the longest time. Probably as government, we are doing things wrongly. I want to hear from the industry men. What should we do to come to a level where we are comfortable? What would you suggest we do? And that was the essence of having Zammsa. Zammsa is a regulator. So if you are talking about positive discrimination and how quickly they should release their import permits and whatnot, you need Zammsa. You need Zammsa because it's a procuring agent of government. All right? So these have to speak to each other. And so the question was, what is it that government needs to do in circumstances like this? And this is where the suggestion of, okay, first things first. Zammsa, represented by the then Director General Billy Mwitwa, did give highlights of what was on the table in terms of the procurement processes that had been initiated to respond to the crisis, right? And so the question was, what do we do in the meantime? Because these processes will take time, because remember, these things have to be manufactured.
That's true. At
that point, government had engaged, UN agencies. So there were a lot of processes that were initiated in an attempt to deal with the crisis. Now, in the interim, as we wait for these processes to begin delivering, what do you people think should happen? Because we really have a problem, right? And that is when, I can't remember exactly who made the suggestion that, well, first things first, probably we need to get what is locally available. If we can identify what is locally available and mop up whatever we can, obviously looking at the consumption data and what is available, that could provide cushion. It may not solve our problem, but we have something to fall back on. That is where the concept of mop up starts from. And so the minister said, okay, if that is Zammsa, any issues, and Zammsa made their own case, Zamra made their case, and it was agreed that, okay, if that is something you could consider, then the industry can meet with Zammsa, share what you need, the quantities, and then people could respond with what they have. And then you people can take it up from there to see if this could help resolve the problem. Zammsa, you know better about what you need. These people will respond to what we need if they have. And that was about that meeting. And then I think the following day we had a meeting with Zammsa. The same manufacturers, all those who were there met with Zammsa. And Zammsa did share what they needed and the quantities. The idea of sharing the quantities actually was that for those who wish to do manufacturing could now prioritize, okay, based on the quantities, you can see which one deserves your attention. That was part of it. Having met Zammsa, we had our own meeting because these people have a tendency of lying. They will say they have so much quantity when in fact not, just to get the business. So we had the meeting to emphasize the importance that we speak to exactly what is on the shelf. Because otherwise it will be exercised in futility. It won't solve the government, problems. Yeah. And the email where people could send what they had was shared from Zammsa. That is about me. Yeah. That story died. And we came to hear about it around November. That's when we heard about a mop-up, when it was published in the newspaper. And DGs had changed then. Billy Mweto was no longer with the institution. There was another director general there.
So when you mean the story had changed, because from what I'm getting, the call to action was that you do the mop-up.
Yes.
And the mop-up was done.
No. It wasn't done. Remember, I'm telling you a story. The meeting is in around May.
This year?
No, 2023.
2023, yeah.
Yes. In May 2023, that's when these meetings I'm talking about happened and it closed. There was no conversation after that. The next time we heard about a mop-up was in November, from May. Okay? We heard about a mop-up in November. That's when there was an advert.
Your meeting in May was conclusive that this is what was going to be done.
Correct. Correct.
And then November, what happens?
So, the idea of mop-up was it was going to be whatever people had.
Yes.
So now remember, these are business people. There is no contract with Zammsa. So we are continuing to trade. And so when it went quiet from May, people went on as usual with their businesses. And when it came to November, no one had anticipated that. It was out of our minds. It was out of our minds. So it comes back in November as a publication in the newspaper that there will be a mop-up exercise, and the people then had to, submit what they had, and then you had Zammsa going around to check if indeed people, basically inspecting if what people proposed they had, actually they had, right? And then that incident is done, and then there's another inspection. And then later on, people awarded these contracts must have been around February of 2024. Yeah, exactly. So that is when these contracts are awarded and these supplies are made. So I thought I should make that clarity on the involvement of the suppliers, Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, and Zammsa, Ministry of Health, and Zamra. It wasn't about fixing the price as the headlines were screaming that people sat to see how they could milk the government, the 600 million. That is not correct position. We should learn to speak facts, even when you want to, to sell the newspaper. Let's not scandalize the country, because that is exactly what the meeting was about.
What it was about.
That's what it was.
Yeah. I know we'll touch again on that a little bit later on, but the last we spoke, like I mentioned earlier on, Mr. Sichilima, we discussed the U.S. Ambassador Michael Gonzalez's claims that over 95% of pharmacies in Zambia were selling stolen USAID products. He even announced the withdrawal of $50 million health aid, saying he was no longer willing to underwrite the personal enrichment of fraudsters when patients go without. Given what we know now from the audit by PwC, do you think those remarks were justified or perhaps were premature?
Andrew, I sat with you here the whole night that day, and I'll still repeat what I said. Those remarks were undeserved, premature, and made out of ignorance. There was no truth to that statement. And I was surprised, actually, that, people like yourselves in the media fraternity would let a person say such things in public, call you thieves publicly, and you don't take him to task to justify what he's talking about. I told you, and I still say, that thing is the so-called survey. The methodology was wrong. Facts don't change because you wear a certain jacket or you come from a certain country, at least not for science. They remain facts.
Just hold your thought there, because this audit by PwC seems to, support your arguments. You made it in our last interview, and I'll ask if, Director, we have, those clips, to be played, that relying on batch numbers alone, this is what you said, that relying on batch numbers alone to track stolen drugs was flawed. For instance, it points to the case of Abacava, where both USAID and local suppliers legitimately sourced medicines from the same manufacturer with identical batch numbers. This is according to the report. But let's look at what exactly you said, in our last interview, so that we could put perspective, to this.
When the products have arrived to this company, supplies who? Government. The other person who bought another quantity, it also arrives. Where am I going taking it? Private market. Who are my clients in the private market? Pharmacies. Do you see the intertwinedness of this market? So if you wake up and you are looking at a batch number, you are looking the wrong way. Your methodology is flawed, sir. It's not correct. You are misleading people and misleading yourself.
Aren't we assuming tonight, if we say that the investigation was based off the batch numbers alone?
We are not assuming.
But we don't have a full report to suggest it.
We don't have a full report, but when you read what he said, they sent people to go and do what? Buy.
Right.
So if you buy that, what else are you going to look at? It would be a batch number. It is going to be a batch number, definitely. That's what will tell you that, but this thing also exists where? In hospitals. It is the batch number that will tell you that this thing was bought by USAID. But all these procurement is not that there is no theft. There is theft because some people have been caught and they have been prosecuted. We are refuting the report for the figures that don't make sense. Theft is there, but not at the magnitude it's put. You cannot have 2,000 pharmacies, 95% of which, that is 9.5 out of 10, selling stolen goods. Honestly, that doesn't make sense. How? That is almost 100%. All these pharmacies that we own are selling stolen goods. That can't be true.
The Americans are saying that.
That is not true, and I'm telling you it's not true. It is the methodology that they use that is flawed. And we are asking that, now that you made the findings public, could you please publicize the survey itself and the raw data? We want to understand how you arrived at these figures, because clearly it's not true. I'm challenging you today, Andrew. Tomorrow is Monday. Go to police. Go to Zamra. Zamra is allowed to walk in any pharmacy at any time. So you can go with Zamra and the police. Check and find how many products you come out, how many pharmacies you find wanting. We had an issue not long ago. You remember there was a task force that was formed, right? There was a task force that was formed. It included DEC. That task force included DEC. There was police. There was OP. There was Zammsa. There was Zamra.
Yeah.
People were rounded up. People were arrested. You remember that? How many were prosecuted in the end? How many were prosecuted? 0. Do you know why? The assumption of the apprehension was wrong. It was based on the batch number. So they would walk in the pharmacy, they check, oh, this looks like what we have. Yes, this batch number is correct. Do you have receipts? No, I have misplaced. You have stolen. But people brought receipts. And government went further to investigate the source of these receipts. And they realized, oh, actually, this product is legitimately here. That is how you ended up with no one being, eventually being prosecuted.
Well, those were your arguments, Mr. Sichilima. We had an interview 3 months ago, and you are reacting to U.S. Ambassador Michael Gonzalez. You argued that the methodology that were used was wrong because of the fact that they were looking at the batch numbers. But also, I did get an excerpt from, the PwC report that was part of it published in the News Diggers, and this is what they said. Director, if we could put up, part of the report. The report indicated that while documentation provided by the suppliers demonstrated that they did not resell donated medical supplies to Zammsa, the findings suggest that the use of batch numbers by USAID to identify supplied and stolen drugs may lead to incorrect conclusions. In cases where medicines with the same batch numbers are also legitimately sourced and distributed by private suppliers. This is what you said when we had the interview earlier on. And now I'm forced to ask, didn't Gonzalez and the Americans understand this?
You needed an auditor to tell you that. I don't need an auditor to tell me what I already knew. That's why I insisted. Gonzalez was making baseless accusations. The problem that we have in this country, Andrew, is that we are still colonized in our minds. Where a certain person of a certain status from a certain country, when they say something, you take it as a gospel truth. You see, the beauty about this subject is it is scientific. Science never changes because of what suit you are wearing. Scientific methodologies do not respond to the social strata of an ambassador of America. Facts can never bend to the social stratum. They remain facts, regardless of who's saying. Whether they are short like me, thin like me, taller like who, they are from which planet, from which country, regardless of who they think they are, or even you think they are. The facts will remain facts. The fact was, from that day, that man was lying. There is no justification of what he said. There is no methodology scientifically that you could have used to arrive at 95%. No chance. I'll tell you. You see, a vehicle carries what you call a chassis, isn't it?
Yes.
Or a vehicle identification number, VIN number. That number, right? Even if you changed the engine of the vehicle, you can't change that number. Right? Even if you did repairs, and you can't change that number. This number, when I want to know who's the legitimate owner of this vehicle, I'll go to RATSA. If I present that number, they will say this vehicle was registered by this person. This is the legal owner of the car. Can you imagine the dispute that would be there if there was no specific method of identifying your car and all you can say is the color, which was the batch number in this case? No, because my car is a Toyota Hilux 19 Chakuti model, and how many models are in that year? So the only way we will be specific to your car is to assign it a particular name, specific name that no any other vehicle has. That name is called a chassis or VIN number. Correct? In other countries where you want to track the drugs, you track it using a global standard called GS1. The GS1 assigns a specific number to the product, not the batch number. People know that you can't use a batch number unless you are ignorant, as the case is with your ambassador. So to avoid that ignorance, you use GS1. The GS1 assigns, you see this batch number here?
Yeah.
You will have to stick another number here, which clearly tells that this product is Zammsa product. So when we scan, we are not scanning this batch number, we are scanning this GS1. It will tell us who the manufacturer is, the date it was manufactured, when it will expire, when it was first shipped to who. It went to South Africa, then it came to Zambia in the custody of Zammsa. Then, if you found that product in my shop, there is a problem because it's not supposed to be in my custody. You understand? It's specific. Once you scan, it says, but it's supposed to be for. It says for Zammsa. Why is it here? Why are you selling? That is the scientific base method that is used to track drugs, not imagination of batch number. Because, like I explained last time, people know that under one batch number you can have millions of pieces under the same batch number. So how do you just use your eyes with your USAID, the so-called experts, and say this is what we bought? You see the case that has come out in the report.
Yeah.
I don't know who that PwC is. I don't need to know them. You know why? Because scientific facts cannot be changed because you want to change them. Scientific facts cannot be changed because you are an American. No, sir. Science is science. Science is above petty politics. What you are seeing is what we call triumph of science. It is above petty politics, above petty diplomacy. It will humiliate you, as you have seen. There it is back. Exactly what I told you. No one is selling ARVs. A back cover happens to be an ARV. The story in that report says Luvuto Pharmaceuticals and Ace Pharmaceuticals, and I think there is a third company, supplied the same back cover from the same manufacturer, Mylan International in India.
Yeah.
Right? Same batch number as that supplied by who? Your Might USAID. Because they feel they own everything. And they flagged it under what is known as medicine assurance research. Those people, the USAID. What had happened was after USAID had delivered the consignment, coincidentally, these suppliers also did what? Delivered the consignment. And the American people, because they are superior, they flagged that as potential resupply. You know what that means? We have supplied, these things were stolen from Zammsa and resupplied by these suppliers. That is the thinking. But you see, this auditor says they had discussions with these suppliers who produced evidence of having imported. Ace Pharmaceuticals imported directly from Mylan International, India. Same everything, the same product, same batch number. Luvuto Pharmaceuticals supplied Zammsa the same product, same batch number from the same manufacturer. They bought from Augusta. Augusta Pharmaceuticals had bought this thing from the same manufacturer in India. That speaks to the concept I was telling you, batch quantity.
Yeah.
If you do not make batch quantity, the manufacturer will manufacture, but they will have to sell the other excess. And this is what happens, a classical example that happened here. They sold the rest to who? These other suppliers. And I told you earlier on, last time when we had this discussion, I said, when the manufacturer is manufacturing, do they tell me who else has placed an order so that we make that batch quantity? They don't. This is what you see. These Americans under USAID flagged that as a resupply. Potentially, these things were stolen and resupplied because we brought this thing, same batch number. But people produced evidence. They contacted the manufacturer who confirmed having sold to these other suppliers. Now, let's talk about government inactivity. I told you last time that this is what happens. People are rounded up. Eventually, nothing happens because there's no case. This is a case in point, right? If you are government, somebody is making noise to you that we are bringing things to you and you are selling your people. These 95% of your pharmacies, in fact, 95% of Zambians are thieves. You are stealing drugs that are meant to save your own people's lives. Armed with that information, you send the DEC, Zamra, and everybody else you can think about. And then you verify. What are you going to do about it? Andrew, what would you do? You are a government official. Armed with that information from these people, the USAID and the ambassador.
You arrest obviously the ones that you're going to find with the same batch numbers.
Now, in this case, there is a batch number, but there is evidence. You confirm that these things were imported. What are you going to do to these people? You're going to arrest them because the American ambassador said you should arrest them. These things are legitimate with these people. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. And this is a likely case that you're going to find. You get 100 tips from USAID, but you see when you follow up, it doesn't lead anywhere.
Yeah.
According to them, you are inactive. You are not taking action. What action should you take? Arrest people who didn't steal because some ambassadors said you must. We've got laws in this country.
You seem to speak with a heart full of humility, speak with a heart full of sadness. Even at the time that he was making this statement, he even cried that, you know, it's bad that we've gone to this extent, but because of the theft, you know, that exists in this country, the Americans will have to take that decision. Do you generally think perhaps that there was no politics at play, but perhaps maybe he was allegedly, genuinely ignorant of the happenings, and not that they deliberately and intentionally wanted to paint a certain narrative or picture?
But the damage has already been done, Andrew. Our dignity was taken away that day. Our dignity as a country was thrown in tantrums. We are known as thieves. Just try to check, Google, why did America withdraw 50 million? You'll see what will come out.
Can this damage be undone?
It can't be undone. This man must apologize. He must write to wherever he wrote his letters, to the BBC and tell them, I am ignorant of the subject. I was overtaken by emotions. That's not an excuse. Ignorance is no defense. Being an American ambassador does not give you the right to insult the citizens. Do you people really understand the gravity of what this man did? Forget about his 50 million. We don't need it. He could have taken it. It's his money and his people. They give it when they want and they take it when they want. But we didn't need to be insulted as thieves. We didn't need it. We didn't deserve that, especially out of ignorance. Being an American does not mean you know anything. Let's be careful. Who taught this country? Look at the buzzing that was there. And because we've got so small minds in our political circles, people jump because it's about UPND against the rest. Sit down and analyze the information. What do you think this really means in long term? It's not about Hakainde Hichilema. It's not about UPND. It's about your dignity, people. This guy is soiling it. He's soiling your dignity. Look, the information that, we've said this to government numerous times and they're not acting. What are you doing? Inciting the people against their own elected government. We received calls and calls from our relatives who are HIV positive because they are panicking. What does this mean to me? What does this mean to me? People are literally in a panic mood. You can literally incite people to rise against their own officials. Why? Because people think that the government is complicit in the scheme of stealing.
To seditious practice.
Exactly. That's what this was all about. But this is being done by a foreigner in your own country. And you are taking sides based on narrow political gains. You can't do that. Do you really think this guy will stop because there is UPND? When UPND comes out, didn't we have the similar issue with, who was that one, Foot under PF? Where do they stop? Where do they stop? Where do they stop?
They've got the right to say anything if it's their money that has been misused.
No, sir. We've got elected officials in Zambia who have a sovereign right to speak to us, who have the sovereign right to make decisions as they see them fit. And if there is anything out of order, this man will just take his money away to say, you are now not following what we have agreed. And therefore, we cannot continue financing. Meanwhile, we are not working on the same line of thought. That's how these things work. Let me tell you. Do you know the number of diplomats we have in this country? How many high commissioners do you have in Zambia? Just from neighboring regions. Have you ever heard them make public statements? Well, your answer would be because they don't give us anything. But that's not true. There are all these bilateral agreements that are in place. Fine. Vice versa. We've got an ambassador in America, I believe. I've never heard his comments about the affairs of America. I have never. Because it's not in his place. Even if America had a good reason to say what they said, it must be based on facts. Now that it's a lie, and I told you the methodology was flawed, you can't use badge numbers, for God's sake. Your auditors that you trust so much are saying the same, that kind of methodology can lead to what? Wrong conclusions, which is the case. Now, you are saying we are thieves. That's what you've sent out there. Today, if you Google and say, you will see what comes out. It's not a nice picture.
Do you think also that this PwC report comes a little bit late?
It's not late. It's not late. What was the hurry about?
Don't you think at the time that the Americans were calling for us to conduct an audit into what they believe was theft? Don't you think if it was conducted at that time, this damage which they made publicly that dented our image as a country could have been avoided?
No. Being shrewd demands that before you make such grand announcements, you've checked your facts and they are right. There is no harm, I would say, if anybody called me a thief, justifiably. Because if I deserve to be a thief, I must be called out as a thief. But a country to be called a country of thieves based on wrong data, most likely cooked data, because I don't see where that data, I asked you, we have 1,396 as that time we had the interview. Where did you get the 2,000 from, the pharmacies you're talking about? Don't try to justify the wrong Andrew. This is our country. And I'm so proud that I'm a Zambian. I don't think there's any other country that is beautiful than Zambia. I don't care about your USA. You know? So let's not destroy countries because your needs as a country, right, do not align, or you can't get what you want to get. That's what this is all about.
America's aid withdrawal was premised on the belief that donated drugs were being stolen and resold. If the audit shows this methodology was misleading, like we've indicated with some few examples, does it mean Zambia unfairly lost the $50 million US?
No. No. It was never our money. It could have been taken in time for no reason. They didn't, I will repeat what I said. America did not need any reason to withdraw the 50 million. No reason at all. It's their money. It can be withdrawn anytime they felt like. So was it unjustifiable? No. Except for the fact that they lied. Why they withdrew the money? They didn't need a reason.
They could have simply just
They could have just taken it. They could have just taken their money. What is wrong is to insult the dignity of the Zambian people as a premise on which you justify your withdrawal of the aid that you've been giving. That is what is wrong. You cannot use, our weaker economic position to indignify us in the public of the world. It's not correct.
Let's get to other findings. The audit also exposes serious issues at Zammsa, such as medicines being bought at prices inflated by over 1,600% and IV fluids procured with short expiry dates while others sat idle in containers. From your perspective, Mr. Sichilima, as a pharmaceutical expert, what does this say about the governance and accountability of Zambia's, procurement system?
Yeah, so let me start with the issue of short expiry, IV fluids. I must state from the onset that it beats anyone's logic why that was done. I can't even imagine why the decision was taken that way, because we are told that at a time we had enough IV fluids. In fact, as a matter of fact, the auditor does indicate that they spoke to one of the ladies in the supply chain who produced an email that she raised the red flag. Like, there's no need for us to procure these IV fluids.
And this was during the mop-up.
Exactly. We already have the IV fluids enough, and we have a lot in the pipeline. So to take the consignment of short expiry is not logical. And she was told it could be consumed. I don't understand that logic. Honestly, I have no idea. And these are probably issues that we can learn during the court proceedings of these matters. I don't know the facts as to what compelled them to make that decision. But I can speak in general terms. What happens is this. The contracts of government in terms of pharmaceuticals, they require you to deliver a product that is at least 80% shelf life. So shelf life is basically how long a drug will stay. Remember, these are perishables. Drugs are perishable, so they've got lifespan. Okay? So a shelf life is basically how long will it stay on the shelf before it expires. So the requirement generally is that when you deliver to Zammsa, it must have minimum 80% shelf life. 20% is given to logistics, taking into account that we are importing. Yeah. So the delays, the what, so these, by the time you deliver, you might have taken out the 20%. Yeah. And so by the time you deliver, it must be 80%. Also that to allow Zammsa to distribute, because all those things require, time. That's the idea behind the requirement of 80%. However, that 80% can be altered depending on the consumption data and the requirement at a time. For example, if Zammsa uses 1 million, the country uses 1 million pieces of examination gloves, right? And then you've got a shortfall. And the supplier says, I have got some that are going to last only for 2 months. That is not 80%. That might even be 20%. So you do your calculation. We consume 1 million pieces per week. So, 1,000 is nothing. You can make your own, But in an event like this where we actually had plenty, there was no need. It was not an emergency. You had 23 trucks marooned in someone's warehouse from Egypt, right, which you refused to receive. Then you are asked, so why would you then buy the short expire ones? I must say I have no answer. I do not understand.
Perhaps you asked manufacturers to submit what they had on their shelves, and IV fluids was part of what they had.
Yeah, but remember, it was not what the suppliers had. It was what you needed.
As a country.
As a country. public expenditure cannot be spent because I want to sell. It's not like that. I'm not the supplier does not initiate the need. You buy because you need. Because otherwise it becomes wasteful expenditure. That's what it is. Wasteful expenditure. So you cannot say that, no, because during the mop-up, this one said they had. It was not about what they had, right? It was what you needed. And what you needed should still be subjected to the same rules of the required shelf life. So if you already had stocks and some things were marooned somewhere because you didn't have space, where did you find the space to accommodate these short expired things? Where did you find that space? So these are things that we can only wait for those who are closer to the subject to justify, and obviously maybe we can get a logical explanation as to what really necessitated the decision. From my part, at a distance, of course, I have no clue why somebody would make that decision. It doesn't make any logical sense at all.
1,600%.
Oh yeah. Prices, and prices. Do you support any team in Zambia?
Yes, I do. Supporting Kana.
Kana. Do you have a jersey for Kana?
I have a jersey for Manchester United.
All right. There are, I believe, a number of types of these jerseys. I can quickly remember there could be a fan jersey and there is a player jersey. Which one is expensive?
The player version.
The player version. Why? Don't they look the same?
They do.
So why is the player version expensive?
Never go to ask that.
All right. I brought you some gifts. I came bearing gifts, knowing that you are going to raise this as an issue.
Those are medicines.
These are medicines. I want you, okay, to tell me what you think. I don't want to give you an answer about the 1,600.
Yeah.
I want to illustrate. You and the public must be the judge. The rest I'm accused of defending or not defending. I've got 3 types of drugs with me. I'll start with this one. What is that you are holding?
Zithromax.
Zithromax. Yes. What is the name? Smaller names? What does it say?
Azithromycin.
Azithromycin,
yes.
Azithromycin. All right. How many tablets does it have?
3 tablets.
3 tablets. All right. Who's the manufacturer?
Is it Pfizer?
Pfizer.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Now, that product that you are holding, azithromycin, is a generic name. The brand name is Zithromax. The manufacturer is Pfizer. Right?
Yeah.
That product, the wholesale price in Zambia won't be less than 250 kwacha. I'm using the wholesale price because anyone who supplies to Zammsa must have a wholesale license. Right? So the prices given to Zammsa are wholesale prices. I hope you won't forget that. So we are using the wholesale, not retail price. The retail price would cost you more than 495 or 500 kwacha. So I'll use the wholesale price, which is bulk supply.
Bulk supply.
Correct. Yeah. So the bulk supply of that won't be less than 250 kwacha per piece of 3 tablets. Okay. 250 kwacha, don't forget.
Yeah, 250 kwacha.
Open your calculator.
Yeah, let me open it. Okay. Yeah, I've opened my calculator.
Thank you. Get that one. Don't mention the manufacturer. I don't want you to mention the manufacturer for my good reasons. Just read the generic name.
Azithromycin.
How many tablets does it have?
3 tablets. Okay.
You can open the box to confirm that they are indeed also 3 tablets, right?
Yeah. So 3 tablets.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Just confirm that the other one is also 3 tablets.
Looks like we're in a lab.
Yes, today we are in a lab.
This is 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
3 tablets as well.
Are these two the same drug?
Yes, from the name.
From the name, right?
Yes.
Good. They are all azithromycin.
Yes.
Thank you. 3 tablets.
Yes.
500 milligrams. Correct?
Yes. So it's 500 milligrams as well.
Okay. So keep it like that with you.
Yeah.
Now, I said the Zithromax, azithromycin manufactured by Pfizer, here in Zambia, the wholesale price won't be less than 250 kwacha. That's the minimum.
Yeah.
The cost of this other one, same azithromycin, right?
Yeah.
Is 15 kwacha.
Okay.
Are we together?
We're together.
Don't show the.
Yeah.
I want you to keep that one secret.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to protect the identity of the other one.
Okay.
So just put that one over.
Yeah.
Thank you. Same drug, from what you can tell.
Yeah.
500 milligrams azithromycin, 3 tablets. I've told you the actual cost on our market. This you can verify. The audience that is listening to us can walk to their nearest wholesale pharmacy and find out. It would cost you 250 kwacha per piece of 3 tablets. The other one will cost you 15 kwacha per piece of 3 tablets.
3 tablets.
Get your calculator.
Yeah, my calculator is open here.
So let's do this. If your plan is 15 kwacha, right?
Yeah.
Meaning you based your planning on the other one, isn't it? Yes. Is it true that all the azithromycin on the market is 15 kwacha? From what you've seen?
No.
So, if you buy the Zithromax, which is 250, your budget, according to that report, the benchmark is 15 kwacha, right?
Yeah.
What will be the percentage variance from what you planned for? So, 250 divided by 15.
250
divided by 15.
by 15.
What do you get?
You get 16.6666.
That is about 16 times. So the other one is costing 16 times the other one. Multiply your answer by 100.
By 100.
So that we convert to percentage. What do you get?
1,666.
Correct. You have 1,666% price increase. Does it mean you stole the money?
No, you went for the Pfizer one.
Thank you. Let's get another example. Have you heard of a drug called diclofenac?
Yes.
Have you used it before?
Probably.
Probably. We'll do the same process. I came bearing gifts.
Yep. The clofenac.
Yes. Thank you. That brand is called Diclodenk from the Denk Pharma. Right?
Yeah.
The cost of 10 tablets of what you are holding there at a wholesale price is about 60 kwacha in Zambia.
60 kwacha.
Per 10 tablets. Bear that in mind. Per 10 tablets, 60 kwacha. There is another brand called Lofnac.
Okay.
Right? How many tablets?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
The cost of that
Yeah.
is 2 to 3 kwacha.
Okay.
These are true things, not imagined. These are facts on the ground. And this is how the market operates. The Diclodenk costs you 60 kwacha for 10 tablets, wholesale price. Retail is above 70 per 10 tablets. The other thing...
Oh, the opposite. The wholesale, so the wholesale is
cheaper.
60? 60, then the retail over 70.
Over 70.
Okay, got what you mean.
Right?
Yeah.
So the one who's dealing with government is a wholesaler.
Yes.
So we are sticking to the wholesale prices.
Wholesale price, yeah.
The price of this other one says 2 kwacha per strip of 10. Same diclofenac slow release, 100 milligrams. 100 milligrams. Let's go through the same math. So 60 divide it by 2. What do you get?
60 divided by 2, you get 30.
You get 30, isn't it? Right. Multiply 30 by 100 so that we get a percentage.
By 100, 3,000.
3,000%. Would it mean that if I bought diclodenc, comparing it to your 2 kwacha plan, I have stolen the money?
No. You've gone for the expensive medicine.
So let's go now to the infamous ibuprofen. What is that box containing?
Ibuprofen.
How many milligrams?
200 milligrams.
200 milligrams. Check the other strip that I've shown you.
Strip?
Yes. What does it say?
It says ibuprofen as well.
How many milligrams?
200 milligrams.
Okay. What's the brand for this thing? What does it say?
It's covered here. It's neuro...
You can just flip the other this side. Here. You'll be able to see clearly here.
Okay. Nurofen.
Nurofen, thank you. Ibuprofen 200 milligrams, tablets. The other one is also ibuprofen 200 milligrams, tablets. The price of Nurofen, that box you are holding there,
yes.
That box you are holding there has 24 tablets,
yes.
Right?
24.
It has 24 tablets.
Yes.
The price of those 24 tablets at wholesale price would not be less than 95 kwacha.
It's 24 tablets.
Those 24 tablets won't be less than 95 kwacha. Correct? They bought 1,000 tablets. So let's convert that. So 95 divided by 24 will 95. Give us the price per tablet.
95 divided by 24?
What do you get?
3.9.
3.9. Multiply that by 1,000 tablets.
1,000 tablets. 3,958.33.
Repeat that.
3,958.33.
What did the report say was the price of ibuprofen?
The report says that a batch of ibuprofen 200 milligrams was bought for nearly 4,000 kwacha against Zammsa's own estimated price of just 230 and more than 2,400% higher than ZPPA.
If I remember correctly, the report talked about 3,951 kwacha is what was spent. What we've found on that Nurofen for 1,000 tablets is exactly 3,958.3. That's what we found on Nurofen, isn't it? So the question becomes, so what product was this that they bought? Because what we have found and what is in the report are the same. But the assumption is that it must have been 230 according to Zammsa's budget and 157 according to ZPPA. Let's pick the other part. That one? This one? The same ibuprofen, yes. That is 10 tablets.
Yes.
The cost of that ibuprofen, right, is 3 kwacha, 2 to 3 kwacha on wholesale for 10 tablets, right? 100 divided by 1,000 tablets divided by 10, so that we find the number of strips that you will have to buy.
So I said how?
1,000.
1,000
divided by
10. 10. We have 100.
100 strips to make 1,000. 100 times 3 kwacha per strip.
3 kwacha, 300.
300. That is the money you pay for 1,000, isn't it?
Yes.
Tablets of that brand.
Yes.
For this one, for 1,000 tablets, you pay 3,958. Divide 3,000 that we found, 3,958. 0.33.
Yes.
Divide that by 300.
300.
What is the variance?
13 kwacha, 13.19.
Times 100 so that we get a percentage.
Times 100. We have 1,319.
Percent. That is how the market operates. There is no sin in that. It's just what it is, that this brand costs much.
Costs much.
Now, the question that was not answered by this report is what brand exactly, because it's like you are comparing oranges to apples, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Can you compare Nurofen to the other one?
No, you cannot.
Can you compare that Zithromax to the other one?
No.
So when you are making these public grandiose statements to show that somebody had overpriced, you ought to have all the facts with you.
But if you're going to plan at Zammsa that the medicine you're going to get is this brand, yet you buy this brand.
There is no law that says you buy this brand.
No, but if your budget line says that the brand we're going for is...
There is no. It's illegal to attach your budget to any brand. In fact, the use of brands in procurement is prohibited by the law because that becomes anti-competitive. You will have already decided who should give you. Why should it be a tender? So the principle of tendering is you go for the best evaluated bidder. You cannot begin to put a brand there because if you put Vatra, how does that become a tender? You know who makes Vatra, don't you? So you go to Vatra. So the principle of tendering is to allow for competition. There is no law that says you must. By the way, go to National Assembly. They have a clinic there. See what azithromycin they use. They use Zithromax. They don't buy those things.
Oh, they are expensive.
No, they use the most expensive one. And they are specific to the brands. That's National Assembly Clinic. You understand? So now I put it to you, Andrew, as a judge and the audience that might have been able to follow our calculation. How do you judge this particular conversation? Did it deserve astronomical headlines that somebody exaggerated the price? Because facts are there. We are not told which brand, remember? If we are told which brand, it's an easy conversation. Then we can say, but this can't cost you that much. The average price for this is this much. But you've not told us what brand you're talking about. What if it was Nurofen? Because if you see the calculations, Nurofen fits in that narrative. The report says they bought at 3,951. What have we found? 3,958. The report goes further, that if you compare the 3,951 to the market index given by ZPPA, it's almost 2,000, which is correct because if you divide the 3,951 with the price of the other one for 1,000 tablets, that's exactly what you are getting, 1,319.44%, which is exactly what is reported. So this is why I always say, let's not be emotional about these things. Ask the right questions. Even when you conclude that this was wrongly done, like in the case of IV fluids, it makes no logical sense. It's plain and white. Like there's something here.
Yeah.
But in terms of the price, like you have been able to demonstrate to the public, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult conversation. You should have told us what brand, which would have made this conversation easy. Then I could have answered whether the price makes sense or it's not. In this case, I will still argue and say, but look, this other one fits in that. So does it mean somebody? Because that's a true price, and that true price I'm giving you actually if you check the South African market, it will be very close to the same price.
Same price.
Yes. It's just the price for this brand. You are not going to start telling Pfizer that, your price should be 2 kwacha because that's what we buy. Pfizer will close their office here, which they have done, because they are not going to compete with that. They don't know what you are talking about.
We need to conclude, Mr.
Yes.
Sichilima, but as we conclude, do you believe that donor confidence, particularly from the US, can be restored? And should the Zambian government push for the reinstatement of the $50 million support on the basis of these new findings?
No. The Zambian government does not need to push for that. They must be fighting to raise that money themselves. Okay? They shouldn't be pushing for that money to come back. Donor confidence will never be satisfied. You must remember. These donors you talk about, they all have interests in the country. There's something they want. And once they can't get that, you become a problem. So time and again, these frictions will always occur. Permanent solution is not in instilling confidence in donors. It's in instilling confidence in ourselves as a people and being able to provide for our needs as a people. Not to impress somebody else. Zambia belongs to Zambians. The pride of Zambia lies on the shoulders of you and me, not some extra individual from wherever they come. You don't know what their interest is. This is the problem. These people, let me give you an example. Mobutu Seseko, here in DRC, is said to have embezzled $5 billion, most of which came from the same donors. America was one of the biggest funders, military, to this person. Why didn't they sanction the donation and say, no, with what you are doing, you are stealing this money, we stop? They didn't, because it served their interest. It's interest issue. Going forward, I will say this, and I've said it, and I'll continue saying it. What we need is economic independence. That is what every government must be fighting for. Unfortunately, all the governments we've had after UNIP do not understand the assignment. The assignment is, one part was done. We got physical independence, territorial independence. But we haven't gotten economic independence to make our own determinations. This is why somebody can cook up figures and say, I'm taking away 50 million. They can't do that in countries that are self-sufficient. They can't. It's only here, where you have an ambassador organizing a press briefing just to tell you that you are thieves. It doesn't happen in other countries. Why? On what basis are you going to make that? They don't need your money. Economic independence is what we need, Andrew. Economic independence. This should be the second assignment. And it reminds me of the wisdom of the words of Simon Mwansa. May his soul rest in peace. Those guys, the Kaunda era, understood the assignment very well, albeit maybe their policies didn't really materialize. He said, if we are not careful, if we mismanage our independence, these colonizers will come back as investors. You watch the documentary by News Diggers about the mining by the Chinese. That's exactly what this guy was talking about. He had a correct premonition. Now, what he really meant, I want to believe, is that if we do not take control of our economic structures, these people are going to start messing us up. And this is what you see. How the hell does somebody who has been deported twice still come back in Zambia? Can you explain that? How the hell does somebody have the audacity to own a mine and make you work without protective clothing whilst you are handling acid? And is still there operating? All these things, Andrew, speak to economic muscle. But we keep sending economics to foreigners. Until there is a government that understands this part of the assignment, that what we need for this country to move forward is ownership of our economy. We will still be insulted as thieves. The so-called investors, who are in most cases investors, are going to mishandle our people. And we must, you and me must be hating for that day when we can achieve this economic independence. We must create billionaires. It is these people that will anchor the economy. You see just a minute, you see when somebody says you are thieves, people are taking sides. There are already people supporting what he has said to hammer the government because they want this guy to love them and probably support them in the next election. But if we own our means of production, we will be able to support and finance our own election. That is what we need. That's the solution, not to impress some donor. We can remain friends, yes. We always need each other. Yeah. But we must need each other, meet each other as equals. Not a slave-master relationship that we have. No, I refuse that.
Association of Citizens-Owned Pharmaceuticals in Zambia, Chairman, Mr. Gallen Sichilima, thank you so much for making time to be able to add your thoughts.
Thank you so much.
On these very important issues.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's always my pleasure.
Until next week, my name is Andrew Mwansa.
Are you thinking of